Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Basic Education Board.
Hello students, a very warm welcome to the TV learning programs where you learn and watch. As usual, I'm teacher Herbert who is going to take you through again in Unit 10 or Biology of Thin Year 3. And the unit is still skin and homeostasis mechanism. I think, students, you do remember we discussed about the structure of the skin, and we talked about the functions of the skin. I think everybody still remember what are the functions of the skin. We said one of the functions of the skin, it acts as a receptor organ. It is acting as a barrier. It protects the entry of some of the pathogens and even other microorganisms. We also say the skin is also very important in thermoregulation. If I say thermoregulation, what does it mean? It means balancing of the body temperature. So we also talked about the maintenance control of internal environment. We say there are very many internal variables needed to be controlled, to be balanced. We talked about water, we talked about salts, we talked about glucose, and other variables that need to be maintained constant so that they cannot affect the body metabolism. So we're going to have a summary of the unit. We're going to summarize the unit. And after making a summary to the unit, we're also going to go through the exercise of the unit. So I think that everybody has to remind ourselves how does the body try to balance the temperature in the body. Let's start our lesson, and then we try to focus on the learning objective of the lesson. The learning objective of the lesson is giving the summary on skin and homeostasis. All right, student? We are going to give the summary on the skin and homeostasis. We are going to give some of the answers to the given questions. All right? The questions were given, and we are going to have some answers on the given questions. So the summary of the unit, lesson summary. Unit 10, the lesson summary, it is concerning about skin and homeostasis. I said the process of maintenance of a constant internal environment in an organism is referred to as homeostasis. So let's have the word homeostasis, and we have its definition. What is homeostasis? We said it refers maintaining a steady internal environment within an organism. So maintaining a steady internal environment within an organism, it is referred to as homeostasis. Constant internal environment, maintaining the constant internal environment within an organism, it is referred to homeostasis. Student, I do remember we said the word homeostasis comes from two Greek words. One is called homeo, another one is called stasis. Homeo means similar. And then stasis refers to a standstill, something that remains at a standstill. Where if our body metabolism or our body activities is not maintained at a standstill, it will affect some of the body metabolism. So that's why the internal environment has to be kept constant regardless of external factors or regardless of the influence of external influence. All right? So we have very many organs that participate in maintaining a constant internal environment. We have the skin. I said we have the skin. That is number one. Some of the organ that plays a big role in maintaining internal environment. We have the skin. We have the lungs. We have the skin, this. Okay. We have the skin, comma, we have the lungs, we have the kidney, we have the kidney, we have the pancreas, all right, the pancreas, and also and the liver. These organs, the skin, the lungs, the kidney, as well as the pancreas and the liver, plays a big role to maintain the internal environment within an organism, regardless of the external influence. So, as I mentioned, we have the number of organs that plays a role in homeostatic mechanism. We have the skin, we have the lungs, we have the liver, and the kidney, as well as the pancreas, which helps to maintain a constant conditions of internal environment. So maintaining a constant internal environment involves a regulation of amount of salts, as I mentioned. There must be a regulation of the salts, water, glucose, temperature as well regulation is also a part of the process. So we have a number of things that has to be regulated. Examples of internal environment needed to be regulated. We say there is salts, we can have salts. Salts need to be regulated in our body. We have water, and I do remember most of you, we said how that the body regulates the amount of water in the body. We have the temperature. We have the glucose. All these variables, these internal variables, are needed to be regulated by the body, regulated in the body. So we talked about water. Who can remind me, how does the body regulate the amount of water in the body? Because if there is excess amount of water getting lost from the body, what happens to the body? All right? We talked about diuresis, or what you call diabetes insipidus, when there is too much water passing through the urine. When there is too much water passing through the urine, automatically you suffer from a deficiency which is called diabetes insipidus. So it means that the water has to be balanced. And I said a hormone that is responsible for balancing the amount of water, a hormone responsible for water balance is ADH. If I say ADH, it is antidiuretic. It is antidiuretic hormone. What does it do? Once the pituitary gland detects the water is passing through, there is excess water passing through the urine, what happens? The hypothalamus detects this and informs the pituitary gland to release ADH. And once ADH is released, it is secreted directly to the bloodstream and goes to the kidney and informs the nephron to do reabsorption of water. So you are going to urinate a urine which is less concentrated, more concentrated, with less water potential. Now, when there's too much water in the body, the pituitary gland releases less ADH. And once less ADH is produced, you are going to produce a urine which is watery, more water potential, all right? So the body does by all means to regulate the balanced amount of water in the body by producing ADH. So that is glucose. We talked about how does the glucose is also regulated. We said the glucose is regulated by two hormones, the insulin and the glucagon. We'll talk about glucose regulation. Glucose regulation is done by the done by the pancreas and liver, by the pancreas as well, and liver. And the pancreas produces two hormones. Pancreas produces two hormones. These are the insulin and glycagon. Glycagon. You try to underline those two words. How does it go about it? If you remember, student, how does it go about it? Is balancing the amount of glucose in the blood. Once there is too much glucose in the blood, the beta cells of the pancreas are stimulated, and once they are stimulated, they are able to release the insulin into the blood. And if there is insulin into the blood, it is going to lower down the glucose level in the blood. And I mentioned how does the insulin do it. It is by converting the excessive glucose into glycogen. Glycogen is the large molecules of glucose, and glycagon is a hormone. And also, it does by converting the excess glucose into fats. All right? Another thing that the insulin does, it is increasing in metabolic activities. If once metabolic activities are increased, automatically the glucose level in the blood will decrease. So what does the glycagon do in order to increase the glucose level in the blood? Let me say you have not taken your breakfast. You have skipped your breakfast. If you have skipped your breakfast, it means that you're going to have less carbohydrates in your blood, less glucose in your blood, all right? Or else, there is a time of starvation, less glucose in the blood. How does the glycagon do in order to increase the glucose level in the blood? It does by converting the stored glycogen in the liver and converts it to glucose. Second, the glycagon does by converting the stored fats into glucose. Another thing, which is the last one, it is reducing the metabolic activities. Once the metabolic activities are reduced, automatically the level of glucose is going to be raised up in the blood. So that is what we've been talking about, all these things we have discussed about it. Let's go to the blood glucose in human is regulated by the action of insulin, as I mentioned it, by the action of the insulin, as insulin, I said, is a hormone, and also the glycagon produced by the pancreas. So these two hormones responsible for regulating the amount of glucose in the blood are done by the insulin and glycagon, which are hormones produced by the pancreas. Animal users use behavioral and physiological methods to regulate the body temperature. You talk about behavioral methods and even physiological processes. Some of you know that some of the animals are covered by the fur or are covered by the hair on their skin. How do they go about it of regulating the body temperature? You have ever seen a dog? A dog, its body is covered by the fur. And a dog, when it is too hot, the dog cannot sweat because its body is covered by the fur. But how does the dog do it? You have ever seen a dog opening the mouth? That is petting. In the process of petting, it is the way of regulating its body temperature. You have ever seen that is a behavioral control of the temperature. You have ever seen an elephant? Constant flapping of the ears. All right? Constant flapping of the ears of an elephant is a way of regulating body temperature, and it is a behavioral process. Without forgetting also, when it is too hot, for us, we try to look for a shade. That is a behavioral process, and that one is called hibernation. Hibernation is also a way of regulating the body temperature. So these are behavioral and physiological methods to regulate the body temperature. They gain heat from the metabolic processes and from the environment, because most of the heat is normally gained from the environment, from the surrounding environment, and can also get lost from to the environment. They also lose the heat to the environment. So let's go to the hypothalamus. If I come to the hypothalamus, I normally try to say that the hypothalamus plays a major role in functioning of various organs that involves osmoregulation. balancing of very many variables in our body. We talk about glucose, we talk about water, there are very many variables that are found in our body that needs to be regulated. So I said the amount of water in human is regulated by the action of a hormone which is called antidiuretic hormone, ADH. In full, it is antidiuretic hormone, which is produced by pituitary gland. This is the ADH is one of the hormones produced by the pituitary gland, or sometimes it is referred to as master gland, which controls the reabsorption of water from the kidney tubules into the blood. So that one, reabsorption of water by the kidney is normally stimulated by a hormone which is called ADH, and informs the nephron. And if I say nephron, is the basic functional unit of the kidney, which is going to do the action of reabsorption of water. And if water is going to be reabsorbed, immediately you're going to pass through urine. In urine, you're going to pass a less water content that way. Let's talk about, now let's go on our exercise. I have very many number of questions, and I will be giving you some answers on these given questions. I'm going to read the questions, and you're also able to go through these questions. Question number 1 is saying, by experiment, it was found that the heat loss per unit weight of a small mammal was greater than that of a large mammal, although their body temperatures remain constant. Which of the following conclusion can be drawn from this result? Number 1, a small mammal are more active than large mammal. Number 2, large mammals are better adapted to the small mammals to their physical environment. Roman 3, small mammals have a high metabolic rate than large mammals. And then D, large mammals have a great surface area than small mammals. So we're going to choose among all these, among the 4 objective questions, and you will be able to get the correct answer. We have number 2, which one of the following is a reaction of human skin when the body temperature is very cold, when it is too cold? What are the reaction of the skin on coldness? How does the skin react on coldness? We have a number of objective questions. Number 1 is the arterioles constrict, the hair stands on the end, and sweat production is ceased. Then B, the arterioles constrict, the hair rise flat on the skin, and sweat occurs. Then D, the arterioles dilate, the hair stands on end, and sweat production almost ceases. And the last one is the arterioles dilate, the hair rise flat on the skin, and sweat occurs. So you choose among all these 4 objective questions. We have number 3. Number 3 is asking, human bodies are able to maintain their internal environment at a certain constant. This statement refers ... We have A refers only physiology of the vesicular circulatory system, refers homeostasis in the body, tells how positive feedback mechanism work. Then D refers to the direct control of the cell activity. Then we have another number, which is the destruction of beta cells of the pancreas results in a dash. We have type 1 diabetes, which is insulin-dependent diabetes. We have type 2 diabetes, which is insulin non-dependent diabetes. We have diabetes insipidus. We have hyperglycemia. We have the last number. We said mammals are said to be homothermic. What is meant by homothermic? Question 6, why is it important to maintain a constant internal environment? Number 7, we have what do you understand by homeostasis, and explain the following given examples of each negative feedback and positive feedback. Then lastly, we have the diagram. Below shows an organ of mammal. Identify the organ, give the importance of the organ, and name the part labeled A, B, C, and D. Let's start with the, and then we have a home assignment. Let's start with the question 1. I'll be very quickly to give you the answers. We have this question number 1. I said by the experiment it was found that the heat loss per unit weight of small mammals was greater than that of large mammals, although their body temperature remained constant, which one of the following conclusions can be drawn from the result. Number 1, small mammals are more active than large mammals. Yes, some of the small mammals, they can just be very active in terms of reproduction. It can also be very active in terms of the food consumption, because as small animals is also equivalent to the food it is taking. So you also have to understand that some of the small animals are more active than large animals, but I don't think that it is true, because you can't say that a rat is more active than a cheetah. So A is wrong. Then B, large mammals are better adapted to the small animals. That one is also not correct. C, small mammals have a high metabolic rate than large mammals. That is obvious, that is very true. There's what you call BMR. 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 I say BMR is basal metabolic rate. So small animals have a high metabolic rate per gram than that of large animals. That's why the metabolic rate, the basal metabolic rate of endotherms are greater than that of the large animals, all right? So it means the answer is B, because the answer is B. The answer is C. So smaller mammals have a high metabolic rate than large animals because their BMR is greater than that of large animals. That is, I say that it is per grams. Their metabolic rate, how we measure, they're supposed to be baseline of metabolic rate of small animals is greater than that of large animals. So the answer is C. Let us go to question 2. Which of the following is the reaction of the human skin when the body becomes very cold? When it is too cold, you know that automatically the arterioles constrict, the hair on the skin lies down. So sweating production is also ceased down. All right? You don't sweat when it is too cold. You sweat when it is too hot. So we see among all these questions, A, the arterioles constrict, the hair stands on the end, and sweat production ceases. So then B, there is also sweating which is not involved there. So the answer is supposed to be, the answer is A. We go to human body are able to maintain their internal environment at a certain constant. How does it understand? The answer for that, because we said maintaining internal environment within an organism, we checked is referred to as homeostasis. And we go to another question, which is destruction of the heart of the beta cells of the pancreas results in what? I said once the beta cells are the one that produces the insulin. And then the alpha cells produces what you call glycagon. Once the beta cells are destroyed, what type of diabetes you normally suffer from? You suffer from type 1 diabetes, which is called insulin dependent, which it means it is a diabetes which depends on insulin. So the answer is A. We go to mammals are said to be homothermic. What is meant by this term? The word homothermic means these are the organisms that maintains a constant body temperature regardless of external influence. All right? Homothermic organisms are organisms that maintains their body temperature constant regardless of external influence. Examples, we have human, we can have birds. These are the examples of homothermic organisms. We have what is the importance of maintaining a constant internal environment. We have to maintain a constant internal environment because once the internal environment are not kept constant, some of the body metabolism are going to be affected. As you know that most of the enzymes that are found in the body are protein in nature. And if the temperature is very high, these enzymes are going to be denatured or are going to be destroyed. That's why you have to keep a constant internal environment. And then what is the advice can you give the person suffering from diabetes? We mentioned very many. We have to do exercise. You eat food which is having less fats, all right? You eat the food which has less fats, and there are very many things that you also have to avoid simple sugars, and you also eat protein sources. We try to do exercise, and if possible, you can also visit the doctor. So, what is homeostasis? What is homeostasis? As I said, homeostasis, it is the process of maintaining a constant internal environment within an organism. Then what is negative feedback? And what is a negative feedback? A negative feedback mechanism, it is a mechanism that maintains, that regulates, that decreases the effect that causes a rise in any change. An example, balancing of glucose, temperature, and etc. Then this one is responsible for increasing the action in the body. Then we have examples. We have examples of positive feedback. We can talk about, take an example like production of milk by the mammary gland, and also the release of the baby during childbirth by oxytocin hormones. So we have the skin, we have the diagram. I said identify the organ is the skin, give its importance. The importance we have mentioned, very important. Protection, receptor organ, or a sensory organ, and also it also acts as, there are very many functions played by the skin. We say the reception, protection, and as well as regulating of the body temperature. So we have these parts, part A and part B. A, we have a number of, A is sebaceous gland, B is hair fur, this B is hair fur, then C is blood capillary, then D is adipose tissues or fat tissues. So students, let's have the homework, and we'll just go through that homework, and then you get the answer. This is the homework, and you have to go through the homework. And thank you very much for being with me, and enjoy the rest of the day. See you next time.